don't know what I'm doing.
I'm like, what does that say?
It says
Hello,
unmuted.
welcome to Wednesday.
Yes.
We
All right.
are running a little bit here, so apologies. We've had a little busy morning, so
Yes.
we took like the last 15 minutes and ran around like crazy people to get all of the things that, and so hopefully we've got everything here, and hopefully it'll all work like we want it to.
Right.
So we switched sides. I'm sure you're like, who's who today?
Yeah.
So Sarah's going to start on the sewing machine, and we're going to talk about some different things and whatnot. And today is all about hems and ways to use hems and different machines that you can use to do those things and all of that good stuff too. So
lots
hello
of fun
to
stuff.
all of you joining us.
Yeah.
Hi.
Looks like hems was a popular thing. It's like some people were waiting for us.
Yeah, it does. So, I mean, this is definitely one of those things that somebody is going to need at some point in their life, for sure. So we're going to talk about some standard stuff and then some not so standard stuff. Yeah.
So, I mean, and if you have questions about something, pop them up. We'll do our best to answer and or demo if we can.
Or pretend we answer them.
Pretend. Yeah. Your names have been changed to protect the innocent. That is right.
I don't know which one of us is supposed to be innocent, but sure, we'll go with that.
No. I know. So, I have something personal to say here. So, my dad has been on the streams a couple of times, and my dad's girlfriend is in the hospital, and she has a pretty aggressive virus that is attacking her brain right now. And if you guys are the praying type, I think any prayers at this point would be greatly appreciated. And it's supposed to be all fun and games, and it terribly is. But I think any little extra prayers can't hurt at this point. So my dad texted me just a couple minutes ago.
Name?
Yeah.
So Anna. If we can put Anna out there for any prayers, it's taken them 17 days to figure out what was causing all of her problems. So we're already behind the gate on that. So every little bit of good thought and prayer coming her way would be really great.
Absolutely. And my dad is in Florida, so he's far away from me. And there's absolutely nothing I can do. And her daughters are there. So all of that. So all of the things that can be done are being done. But
it's still scary.
It is scary.
And it's an unknown.
And I feel terrible for everyone. I'm sad, but they're obviously way closer to the situation. And there's nothing I can do but ask for a few extra prayers. So if you have a little prayer list, that would be fantastic.
I was just reading, hence the question marks, which she didn't know which one of us was innocent either.
Yes. No.
Sorry.
None of us know.
Totally different topic there, but I was just like, I'm not really sure either.
So, on to our scheduled events.
On to our regular scheduled broadcast.
Right. So
we're going to have super fun with hems today.
We are.
It sounds so exciting, doesn't it?
We are.
It was really funny because we're, talking about what we were going to get ready today, and I do my thing, and we all have our own whatever. We were totally not on the same page.
No.
Like, she was like, "You're gonna do what?" And I'm like, "Wait, you're gonna what?" So we definitely there's more than one way to do a lot of different things for sure. So we're gonna try to kind of talk about a lot of them and see how we can get you able to fix any of your little things.
And show you both ways. So a lot of the things that we're doing can be done on a serger, but if you don't have a serger, you can also do them on your regular sewing machine. And I'll be like, you know what, if you have a serger, this is 100 times easier to do this on your sewing machine or on your serger, and vice versa. So again, we have lots of things on both of the machines that can do all kinds of different things, but sometimes one technique is a little bit easier done one way or the other.
So I would like to say before we start, yes, we are as normal sitting in front of the top of the line machines. So the sewing machine we have here is the Luminaire. And when we talk about the serger, we've got the Triumph here. But the feet and the techniques that we're talking about are not specific to these machines. They can be done even on the most basic sewing machine with very little exception. And then the serger, it would depend upon what stitch you're doing, whether you need a
cover hem.
This is an 8 thread, so it does both cover hem and serging, where you may need both machines to do some of the things that we talk about. But I just wanted to throw that out there because I know sometimes in the back of the head it's like, yeah, I don't have that machine. I can't do that.
Yeah. No,
and I just wanted to make
our
sure
manual machines can do these.
you know, a lot of what we're going to be talking about are the attachments that make these things easy. So we're going to do straight stitches, standard serging, or whatever. And it's the little things that we're going to use to help that. So I just wanted to throw that out there that this really is for everybody.
Right. I forgot to bring the hem guide over. The one on the wall, the press one.
Yeah. I can absolutely grab that. So do you have a thought of where you want to start? Or?
I thought I would start with the blind hem, and I would show like what the blind hem was designed for, and then what I use it for.
So we probably all own a pair of maybe dress pants or something like that has a blind hem on it the way that when we purchased it.
Yes.
What that means is you don't actually see the seam on the outside of the pants. There's not that solid stitch line that goes around the hem of your pant or your skirt or whatever it happens to be. The blind hem allows it to be tacked up at the position that it needs to be without seeing that whole line. Part of the blind hem, for me, the hardest part is getting the fold all right, which I definitely find if I press where I want my hem to go and get that pressed and then do the fold, it's better than trying to do all of the funky without having your hem specifically placed.
I totally agree with that.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. So step one, when you're using a blind hem foot to actually do a blind hem.
Yeah. Find the stitch.
Find the stitch. And if you have a machine that has a help guide and a sewing guide, it will actually do that for you if you go through that guide. But we're not going to cover that because that's a whole nother ball of wax.
Right.
But step one is find the stitch and find the foot.
Yes, find the stitch and find the foot. And if you
want to show the foot,
because if you find one, then you should be able to find the other.
Yes.
All right. So this is what our blind hem foot looks like. And honestly, this is what almost everybody's blind hem looks like. Not to be confused with, let me find the space here, with what the overcast foot looks like, which is this guy right here. This one has like a little toe that sticks out. Let me show it on the fabric here. It's probably a little easier to see. Yeah, so you can see that's got the little toe there. That's the mock serger stitch foot. And then this is your blind hem foot. And the blind hem foot has the big little guy that sticks at the bottom. Big little guy. Yeah. He's long and very skinny. And then that is the overcast foot. But they're the two weird looking feet in your case that people oftentimes don't know.
They don't know why they have it. And so therefore they never touch it.
Right. And so these feet do have a letter designation. And so the blind hem foot has the letter R, and it's almost impossible to see. It is
right at the top
here.
There you go.
There's the letter R, and then the overcast foot is the letter G, and that one is right there. So they put it in the worst possible place for you to find it.
So I just think there. Those letters are hilarious.
I know.
It's like blind, E-L-I. Nope, no R in there.
No.
Hem. Nope, not.
I know.
Why?
I don't know.
We pick these random letters for So then I'm like, okay, it must be in another language.
So
and I just don't know what it is.
The blind hem foot, right? Blind are like a pirate. They have a patch. There you go.
There you go, guys. That's Sarah thinking right there.
That'll get you maybe there. Think about a pirate who only has one eye. They're blind. And then what do they say? Arr.
Alrighty then.
There you go. That'll get you there.
Sleep well tonight now with that. Okay.
All right. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to put the foot on the machine, and these are just snap-on feet. So nothing exciting there. And then I have to find the stitch. The part that always confuses me about this is, in my mind, menu number 1 is the utility stitches.
Utility stitches, and this should be in number 1. It's not. It's in number 2.
In there, and it is not. It is in menu number 2.
Yes. But all of our machines,
yes,
if they are electronic in any way, shape, or form, even if you don't see a picture of the foot, you will see the letter of the foot come up on the screen. So you will see R, or the shape of the R foot with the R or whatever.
Yep.
So when you choose a stitch, if the R foot doesn't come up,
Mhm.
it's not the right one.
Right.
So it definitely is very helpful. The only machines that are out there that don't have that, and we don't have any of them here in store,
No.
would be a manual machine that just doesn't have that option.
Right. So I'm going to sew the stitch not folded properly just so that you can see what it is supposed to look like. Because I think when you know what it looks like, it makes more sense about the fold. So what this stitch does is it takes a little bite into the left, and then it has a bunch of like little straight stitches that are, you're like, what am I supposed to do with that? So when we do a blind hem, what actually happens is when we have the fabric folded, the fabric that we have folded, it just takes these tiny little bites into the fabric, which is what makes it a blind hem. And then the rest of the stitches are done on the part of the fabric that you don't see.
That you don't see.
Yes. So the kicker with a blind hem is to have the fabric folded correctly. And that is always the challenge. But essentially, if this were your, let me zoom out a little bit. If this were your pant leg, okay, here is the bottom of your pant leg and your pant goes up this way. We need to have like a finished edge. So we want to have a double fold. So we're going to fold up 2 times so that that edge is finished. Now, if you have a fancy serger, you could serge along this edge first, and then you wouldn't necessarily need to have a double fold. Right. But
you don't want a raw edge in there that's going to fray over time and in the wash and whatnot.
Exactly.
This will not prevent that from happening.
Right. So essentially, this is what we're starting out with, okay? We have a nice finished edge, okay? If I were to do a regular hem on this, I would hem right along here and you would see all of that.
The straight stitch line.
Exactly.
On the outside of the fabric.
Right. It would be very pronounced. You would see that. So what we have to do is we have to fold the fabric. This is the part that gets confusing. And so it's harder to do with a pair of pants, but essentially what we have to do is we have to flip the fabric down. So again, this was my fold. So there was my double fold. And then I kind of tucked it underneath. And now I have this edge here. So again, this is still the pant leg, okay? This is the inside of my pant leg. The pretty side of my pant leg, or the right side of my pant leg, is over here. Now, when I go to stitch with this under here, the thing that I see people do most often is they want to make this very tiny. It can't be that tiny because the smaller this piece is, the more difficult this stitch is to actually control. And you're probably going to be doing this in a circle, which makes this even a little bit more difficult, but you can still kind of get the seam. You basically have a double fold up, and then you basically have to tuck under.
Yep.
And so then what you do is that little, the big little guy that is just hanging out in there, that it's kind of like a wall, for a lack of better description. That part is where that fold is. So remember, this is the rest of your pants, and this is that double fold part. So I've got the fold part of the pants resting up against this little guide in here. And what's going to happen is we're going to take some stitches, and then the machine is going to like do straight stitches, and then it's going to just bite over to the left. And it's just going to do that ever so slightly. And so the key is having enough fabric underneath here that your feed dogs are feeding the fabric evenly, and that you have enough fabric to sort of hold on to. I would have pressed this and...
Yeah, you're doing this for real. You want a straight, flat edge there.
Yeah.
It's not a big poof edge.
Right.
So you would press before you stitch.
I probably wouldn't pin it because I just wouldn't do that.
Press.
Yeah. Now zoom in a little so you can see what the needle is doing a little bit. So straight, and then we just kind of bite in there. Now, if you're sewing along and you did your practice, for some reason you didn't catch
every little bit,
the bit, you could then increase the width of your bite. So you can see I didn't catch here. but I caught. So sometimes it has to do with whether or not you're paying attention, or whether or not you're messing around with your fabric. But
and like we said, if it was pressed and it was a smooth, crisp seam, it would catch much easier than a poofy fold that isn't pressed like what we've got here.
But this happens, especially the first couple of times that you're doing it. So again, you can press it, but you can also increase the width of the stitch,
so you get a bigger bite.
But what happens when you have done it correctly is that you cannot see those little stitches. So I have purple thread in there, and you can't even see that thread. So it becomes invisible because it takes just the smallest little bite, and then you have your fancy fold. So this works really great on dress pants when you don't want to see that. It also works really great on like home deck, like curtains and things like that, where you don't want to have that big giant,
you don't want to have a big seam
or the thread to be showing or something like that. So that is what you traditionally use a blind hem stitch for. So
that's its intended purpose.
Exactly what is intended.
This is how we actually use it.
This is what I use it for. So I use it to put a pocket on a quilt, and so
you can go back to straight.
I'm going to go back to a straight stitch because I didn't get around to sewing this. I'm going to just
sew.
I am going to do this, and I am going to, there we go. I'm going to make a teeny tiny little seam. Okay. So we're going to make a pocket to use on a quilt, a wall hanging, whatever. Wrong button.
Happens a lot.
Put up button.
Happens when you're not looking at what you're pushing and you're looking up at the machine.
So I'm going to turn this right side out. It doesn't really matter because it would be on the back of whatever your project is. So you could certainly...
it can be a hot mess if you need it.
That's right. It could be, you could keep it inside out. Thank you. She struggled with this one in the past. I think a lot of people do.
It's confusing, especially the first, 20 times. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
But especially the first couple of times, because you have to have it folded the correct way. Otherwise your stitch is in the wrong spot.
Yeah.
And it definitely can feel like I don't have this right, because you might not.
So a very, very, very long time ago, I took a sewing class, and someone said to me to remember how to fold your blind hem. Remember, and I have no idea why it actually stuck, but you, if you think about getting up in the morning, you pull your pants on, so you fold up first, and then at night you take your pants off, so you fold down. So you always have to put your pants on before you take them off. And so it has always been a reminder for me to fold up before I fold down, which is just one of those things that I say in my head. And again, I don't know that it actually makes sense, but it does keep my brain from like folding it the wrong
direction.
Way. Yes. Yep. So like I said, I don't know that the saying actually really pertains to what you're doing.
But if it works, that's all that matters, right?
But she said it, and somehow it stuck.
Yeah. I mean, I used to make up songs and different things for stuff. So,
yeah.
I mean, sometimes that's how you can remember things.
It just sticks. So I have my little tube, and you could be fancy and you could press your ends in and all of that stuff, but you honestly don't need to do that. It's going to be on the back. Can you change to this camera for me?
Maybe.
There we go.
It was a fancy change. Did you see that?
Yep. So if you have,
I don't think our labels are right anymore.
They are not. They have been wrong for a long time.
That's why I pushed the wrong one, because I was like, that's not what it says.
Yeah, they have been wrong, and I just haven't taken the time to fix them. So this is.
So should we have a 30-second commercial?
Right, Quilty Little Christmas.
Quilty Little Christmas,
and so adorable. Look at how adorable these are. So this is the Kimberbell Quilty Little Christmas, and they're little, but they're so adorable.
So the package that we happen to be putting the hanging sleeve on for you guys today, this has multiple wall hanging pieces that are, as you can see, not monstrosity large. You could also bit and piece these out to make a bench pillow or a square pillow or
Yep.
whatever it is that you want. But these are two of the wall hanging pieces that are in there.
Yeah, so cute. All right, so I'm gonna put this on the back of that, and I am not going to do hand stitching because ew.
Yeah.
And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this piece and I'm gonna put it on the back of this little quilt, and then I am gonna take some pins, and I usually just pin down the very center of this and then I wing it. But some people, they don't feel quite as comfortable just winging it. So you can pin at the top and then fold down, but this way it works for both sides. And that works for me. So you do want to make sure that you're putting it on straight because
what's going to happen if it's not straight?
It's going to hang a little crooked.
It's going to hang crooked on the wall.
So you definitely want to make sure that you're using a straight edge. And you could use the top of your binding. And every time I demonstrate this, someone says to me, well, why don't you just put this in your binding? So 2 reasons why I don't put my pocket in my binding. If I am making a large quilt and I want to hang it on a wall for a while, I might not want that to be a wall quilt forever, or I might decide to gift it to somebody. They don't necessarily need it to have a pocket. If I were to put it in my binding, that would mean that I would have to take out my
the binding out to remove the pocket.
Right. So this way allows me to have something that can be removable for future purposes. I have also found that if I put a hanging tab that close to the top, I get a little bit more wiggle. I think that about an inch down from the binding is kind of like my sweet spot. I think that it kind of just makes the top part drape a little bit. It's a little bit softer.
It hangs better.
It hangs a little bit better. And I do like to go pretty far across the quilt. I don't want there to be I don't want there to be like big gaps.
Right.
So I want to go as close as I can get to the outside without actually going through the outside. So what I did was I just pinned this in. And based on how that stitch works, what I'm going to do is I am going to do my bites so they just pop in to the front part of this, but they really aren't ever going to come to the front part. They're really going to be like in the batting and the backing piece. So it never really kind of pokes through. But again, even if it did, they're tiny, so you would never see them. So I have this piece on the back, and then what I do is I just take the top piece here and I just fold it down. And you can see I've already created my fold. That's it. That's all I have to do. I'm just basically folding up to those pins, and that will work on both sides. So we'll go back to the sewing machine. We'll pick the stitch again. And because this is a little bit wider of a fabric,
gonna get a bigger bite.
I am going to attempt a bigger bite. So there we go. Yep. So I'm going to go just a tad bit wider, and then I'm going to just go for it. Now, the thing that you want to note about this is it's pretty thick. So you definitely want to take your time, and it's really going to feel like you got a lot of stuff underneath there. I'm going to move my water so that I don't
knock it over.
Right over top
right into
the power cord down there.
And blow everything up.
Yep, and try not to do that. All right, so. And it's really important. I'm definitely paying attention to make sure that I've got my fold butted right up against that
little guide in the center.
Yes.
And we're still using purple. And you have purple in your bobbin as well?
I actually think I have cream in my bobbin here.
Okay. Not that it matters, because that's completely irrelevant.
Right, right.
I was just curious what you had.
I normally have the same color in both the top and the bottom, and I normally match my fabric to the thread color, but you would not be able to see white. So
what we're doing here
would be harder. Wrong button again.
It's okay.
Okay. So you can see that it's in there, right? But it is completely invisible on the top. Now, to complete that, I'm going to do the same thing on the other end. Now, if you have a lot of things going on inside your quilt, where
Like
you have
3D
a lot of
embellishments.
Yeah, I try to do this before I put the 3D embellishments on, like if they were hand sewing
that
things.
fold would be very difficult if you got
a lot of stuff going on. Yeah.
Vinyls and
yes.
buttons and God knows what else going on in there.
Right. What else? Right. Who knows? It could be anything. But it is important that I give myself enough fold that I have a little bit of this white showing, because if I don't, there's no place for those extra stitches to go. And it's going to look sloppy. It's going to look like, oh my God, the tension is crappy. It looks really sloppy. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. No. I've done this with super heavy, like king size quilts hanging in a shop. It'll hold. It'll hold.
And the really cool thing about this is if, your fold slips partway through because you looked up to watch the TV or whatever it happens to be, if you miss a couple tacks, it doesn't matter because the whole thing is being held in place. So the rest will hold up the weight if you miss one here or there or something like that. It's not the end of the world.
It doesn't matter. Nope, it's definitely very forgiving.
So we made a very simple tube.
Yep.
And then we pinned it, and we sewed 2 seams.
Yep, and that was it. And now there is a pocket attached, and you do not see any thread coming through the front. Nowhere.
I love this. We're going to share.
This is fantastic.
We're going to share. So Sandra says, oh my gosh, being under 5 feet, I've used the blind hem since junior high school sewing class. I have never thought of using this stitch for anything else. This is amazing. I thought the same thing when you showed me. I was like, oh my gosh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing. That's great. It is just one of those things that you don't think about. Hey,
yeah,
I could do this. And once your brain gets there, you're just like, oh my gosh.
Yep.
So functional.
So functional. Yes.
So functional. So blind hem, standard, and the little out of the box.
Yeah. And honestly, everything else on the sewing machine is basically just a variation of a straight stitch. Otherwise, you could do yeah, you got it. We can do the mock serger stitch. So we'll show you the full serger stitch. So like if I wanted to sew this together and I didn't want, there you go.
And me all up here.
I didn't want the fabric to unravel on me.
Yep.
But maybe I'm too lazy to go to my serger, or
well, you're already sitting at your sewing machine. You're ready to go, and you're like, oh, I really want to do this. You don't want to maybe you have to get it out and thread it and whatever. This is another option.
It is.
Is it as strong and wonderful as an option as your serger? Is it ever going to be equal? No. But if you don't have a serger, or you can't get to it, or you don't have time, or whatever, it is a very nice alternative piece that you can do.
It definitely is. It's also, even if you only ever use this foot and you use the standard zigzag stitch, if you've ever done a zigzag stitch along the edge of the fabric, your fabric folded and rolled in, you were not trying to do a rolled hem, but it was rolling in on you.
Anyway.
And you were saying bad words, because I'm sure you never say bad words when you're sewing.
What are those?
Right? Learning how to use this foot makes things so much easier. So this is that other funky foot that's in there. This is the G foot, and it has like a longer toe here, and right
big toe
on the back part of the toe is a bar.
Yep.
And in serger speak, that is our stitch finger. So what it does is it is like a guard to keep the fabric from rolling when we stitch over top of it. So basically what the needle does is it does the zag over top of the bar, and then that bar is on top of the fabric, and it's kind of bracing it so that it's not pulling it.
It stays nice and smooth while it's being fed in.
Exactly. And then as you stitch, the stitches fall off the bar, but because they're not being tugged on, everything remains super flat. So this stitch is in
Is
the
in the
utility
main
menu.
utility
And
menu.
it goes exactly the opposite of
Direction.
what the blind hem looks like. And this machine, it is the button that I push every time I think I'm doing a blind hem, because in my mind, oh, there's this zigzag and that's the thing, and then I'm like, oh no, it's in the other menu. So as soon as I do it, I know. But that is what this was. So this is stitch menu number 1 on this machine, and it is stitch number 16. And there are a couple of different versions of this, whether you're doing straight,
type of fabric. Do you need it to be stretchier, so on
exactly,
and so forth. Yep.
Exactly. So a lot of stitches on our machine come in both a non-stretchy and a stretchy version. Mm-hmm. So I'm doing the non-stretchy version because this is non-stretchy fabric. So how you line this particular stitch up is you basically take the edge of your fabric and you resist the urge to put it all the way over to the right side of the foot, because I know that's what you want to do. You're going to line it up with this long toe.
Yep.
And that is where the edge of your fabric should stay
the whole time
when you're doing this. And you should use that same lineup if you're doing a regular zigzag stitch as well. You can play with the width of the stitch as you go. Mm-hmm. So again, this is one of those stitches that is going to just zig and zag all over the place. It's very tiny on the edge of this fabric.
But this will help from fraying. So when we were talking about that fold, you could cover the edge of your fabric there to keep the little wispies from flying away.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So this will keep your fabric from unraveling. And that is just the standard setting. You can make it larger. The larger that you make it, the more coverage that you're going to get. Yep. So that setting is right on your machine. And because it's in menu number 1, you have width and length controls over this.
For all of that.
Yeah. So absolutely. That is basically what a sewing machine considers to be a mock serger stitch. So we get that question all the time. Is that
an option?
Yeah. So this is as close as you can get to that on this machine. And you would use this foot, and that is that little bar underneath there. So you can kind of see it right there. There you go. So basically, when you're sewing with this, the one thing that you have to be super careful about, don't pull your fabric.
And don't choose the wrong stitch, because if you don't have, or if you were doing this and then you forgot to change the foot, mm-hmm. I've definitely seen a lot of broken needles. And we've actually seen broken stitch finger, if you will. You can actually break the foot if you are using the wrong stitch. Yep. So do make sure. Again, this is G as in George, mm-hmm. And your machine will tell you.
Yeah, it kind of looks like it's giving you the finger underneath
here. A little bit, just a little bit. But yeah, so do make sure that you are selecting the correct stitch, mm-hmm. and don't forget to leave it on there.
Yeah.
Don't forget and leave it on there and go back to a straight or whatever in the wrong.
Exactly.
And have it be.
And when you finish sewing and you use your thread cutter, you have to pull the fabric back. You can't just pull to the left, because there will still be stitches
thread around it
on this little finger. So that is one of those things. Again, Serger has a stitch finger as well. Yep. So that's basically what this is.
What's happening there?
Yes. So
very cool.
Those are my tricks for using your blind hem and using your overcast stitch on here. We've done this a couple of times. If you need to shorten a sleeve on a sweatshirt or mm-hmm. something like that, and you don't want to get your serger out, or you don't want to do something like that, it does a very good job of finishing the edges around something like that. And it's very stretchy. So it is definitely something that you can use on all kinds of different things.
You've got a couple other hemming sewing feet before we switch. Do you want to,
I totally forgot about that. Yeah.
So there are a couple new feet,
and then
a not so new, but just a couple things that you might like to use for these.
I don't think this is supposed to be in there. I wonder how long it's been in there. This is...
Oh, it's just a chart of what
a chart. Maybe it is. I saw Serger things, and I was like, yeah, this is not the right thing.
Yes. Yeah, it's a chart of what goes in what group, I think.
Right. So this is a flat fell foot, and it has a special little lip on there for sewing. So I know people do your denim jeans. Some people like to do pillowcases like this. They like to enclose the things. We have a special foot that makes this really, really easy. And it tells you the settings on your machine, and it walks through exactly how to put your fabric together, like placing your wrongs fabric parts together, doing your seam and doing all that. So it's a really great foot to have if you do not have a serger, or if you are in, some people are really in love with the look of
just the look of the felt seam.
The felt seam. So
for sure.
So we have that foot, and I always think that people they work hard with that stitch. But
that is the nice thing about these feet, and the other nice is our feet are not expensive.
Right.
You can have all these goodies without breaking the bank, which is super awesome. Christmas is coming. These are great stocking stuffers. They're a nice price point for that kind of thing. Brand new, if you think you have all of the feet, these two are brand new, and they are specifically hammer feet. There's a 4 millimeter, and there is now a 6 millimeter. The old one was, I believe, a 2.
Yeah.
And so basically it gives you a rolled hem. Mm-hmm. So you tuck that in there, you feed your fabric edge in there, and it literally gives you that rolled edge. So it rolls it, and then you stitch all in one shot.
Yep. So I'm holding this slightly backwards here, but you can see the fabric feeds into here, and then it rolls it around. I'm trying to get that. Can't see it. Anyways, there it goes. It rolls in. It's kind of like a little twist. So it rolls the fabric in. So you put it in.
And then while it's rolled into that position, you have a straight stitch that just tacks it all into place.
Yep. So let me see if I can get it wound in there. Much harder to do
when it's loose in the air.
When it's loose in the air, yeah. But you can see there you go. It's starting to roll. So that's what it does, is it rolls that for you so that you can stitch. Starch definitely helps. Yeah,
absolutely.
Also, the one tip that I have about using one of these feet is that if you take a little stitch in the corner of your fabric with a really long tail thread, and then
you just pull the thread through.
Then you can, holding that tail thread, you can pull the fabric right in, and it'll roll around that edge, and then you have something to hold. Because otherwise you don't have anything. You
just have this tiny little edge that you're trying to keep in that roll as you start. Once you get it started, you're fine.
It's fine.
It's the starting thing. So that's a great tip. For sure.
So I like to have like just a tail thread, and then I can just pull that through the foot, and that helps a lot. And it'll just help feed that through. Again, you just got to get started. So,
so brand new is now available. In addition to the 2 millimeter that we had, we also have a 4
millimeter
option. So really nice if these are your kind of thing. This is also great for placemats, napkins, all of those kinds of things, especially if you don't have a serger that has that rolled hem feature on it. It's a nice way to go there. For sure.
Yep.
All right. Are we swapping?
Yeah, let's swap. Okay. All right. So let's go to the big camera. And then, hey,
hello.
We're gonna
play musical chairs and move a couple things. Yeah. So
there we go.
I can stay there. I'm just gonna toss this over there.
All right. Want me to carry?
No. I just want to make sure I'm not smacking anything or.
Nope. Did you get the power cord out too?
I just did.
Okay.
Well, I thought I did. I don't. Oh, I forgot how heavy that is.
Surprise. All right, and then we're gonna put the serger over here.
Okay. Perfect. Look at that.
Kind of far away. Will that be okay? Yeah, it's fine. And then we have a controller and power cord.
So when you are looking at your serger for hems, we of course still have the rolled hem and just literally serging the edge, which depending upon your look, there's certainly you could go that route. What are we threaded here? We've got a narrow. So
it's a surprise.
It's a surprise. So if we are going to make a cuff, we've got hoping the settings are right. That looks beautiful. All right, so your normal pair of pants, you're going to have that internal seam, right?
Mhm.
And you can have a decorative seam over that if you want, whatever. But if we're looking to hem and shorten a pair,
Yeah.
you can cut it off to the length that you need. And then we still recommend pressing. Always got to
Yes.
press, right?
Nerve.
Yeah, still, but you're going to get whatever hem part that you need. This would be a regular seeing the seam hem,
Yep.
not a blind hem. There is a blind hem foot for your sergers,
Yep.
but that's not what we're talking about right now.
And you fold the fabric the same way.
And you would fold the fabric the same way. So you can see I've got, this is the inside.
Do you want to use the big camera? Would that be easier?
Sure. So we've got the internal pant leg seam. All right. The smaller your cuff, the harder this is.
Mhm.
Not gonna lie, right? So this is a pant leg, a t-shirt sleeve that are just really big. Actually, the hem of a shirt. So like it's just really long, and you want to shorten the shirt because the
Right.
t-shirt or the tank top is like 6 miles too long.
Yes.
Any of those kinds of things.
Yes.
All right. You can serge the edge here as well, so you don't have that raw edge. Depending upon what you're wanting to do, you can double fold here so that you don't have totally up to you.
Up to you, right?
All right. I need to
Switch over
yes. Here as well. So I don't know if the serging stitch is what we just showed. So it's got those loopers, it's cutting the fabric, all of that.
Yep.
When we're actually hemming, it's definitely going to, I didn't even look if we,
well, wait, what do we need?
I need to move needles.
Okay. Do you have a little screwdriver over there? No, we do not. All right. So
send a text to somebody and I can work on the other stuff first.
Yeah. Let's you're not sending a text, your phone is on the other side.
I said you could send a text. So I'm just going to search out these. Let's get that out of there. So when you're hemming with a serger, you're probably going to want to finish your oh my goodness, look at all of that. There's a lot of screwdrivers going on right there.
All in one place.
It's tangled. Something's not. Why aren't they coming through?
Well, they're definitely a hot mess over here, so I could see
wrong.
how
like, what is happening here?
that could happen.
So I am going to thread with the dark threads just so we can see everything that's happening, because otherwise it'll be a little bit difficult. So we were threaded for a 2-thread narrow on the standard serging. I am going to lose my needle.
It's got a special catch down there. It'll be okay.
No, it doesn't. It's back over there.
I know. It'll just fall down.
I noticed that it was sitting on the and I'm going to thread for a wide.
You could do a wide or a narrow.
You could do a wide or a narrow. I'm going to do a wide just so you guys can see it a little bit easier. So I'm going to go from my overlock needles and I'm going to put them into positions 1 and 3 over here.
And if you watched our live last week where we talked about the Applaud is a cover hem only machine. So it wouldn't have been able to do the standard 4-thread that we just did, but it would be able to do all of the things that we're about to talk about now.
So this one here, the Applaud would not do, but everything that we're doing here. And then also, if you do have, nope, wrong one, your overcast foot, you could do this and then
do this.
Yep. So you could swap,
you could do that, and then you could do this.
You could do this, you could do that, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Sorry. Not like a
yeah, I was doing the same thing. You can get with that.
All right, so I am going to put my cover hem table on. After I move my blade. Oh, for crying out loud. Miss something? This is probably.
Oh, this is still up. There we go.
Like, I put it down.
Yeah.
It looked down, but it wasn't down.
Yeah.
See what you get for hurrying.
The hurrier we
The
go.
hurrier you go. All right. So again, I am going to thread. Sorry about my arm there. Numbers 1 and 3. Suppose I could use the threader, huh?
You could if you
I
wanted
could.
to, but we have
We'll see.
tweezers.
I got
Got tweezers.
Let's see if the contact will play nice.
Everybody's watching.
I know. Look at that.
Good job. It does have a needle threader on it. It's just a little bit loud and obnoxious when we're
Live.
live.
That contact sure is a fun thing to try to work around. It's like, how far back can I lean so that it's in focus?
How big is the eye of this needle?
All right, so that was number 1. This is number 3.
As I'm trying to drink my water with the lid closed. It's working out really well for me.
I was going to do this before we got started, but then I couldn't have shown you the original, how you could change your hem and all of that thing. So we're just trying to rush, and that's what happens.
Jane says, please don't take this the wrong way. I love watching you two. So entertaining. We are definitely entertaining. We entertain ourselves. So we're super happy that you're enjoying it as well.
You know, if you can't laugh at yourself, what are you going to do? Because holy crow, right? So
can't be serious all the time.
We find it's not really even helpful any of the time, to be perfectly honest. Yes. No fun. So the looper threading on this is so easy. It has just gotten so much simpler.
Yes.
Not that it was super hard on the Ovation, but man, is this like...
Everything got a little easier on this one.
We can check, make sure that it is over there. Yes, it is. Anytime that you're doing a cover hem, it's always best to do a test stitch before you just start sewing. Thank you. Trying to go too fast. All right.
Find it?
I did. So we just want to make sure that all of the thread ended up where it was supposed to. So I have a beautiful looper stitch on the back, and I have a double stitch on the front, which is the wide. You could also have the stitch in the center, or just top and center, or center and bottom. Yeah. So those are the options. So can you pass me that? I'm not going to connect it. Oh no, wait. I brought it over here. Don't
my box is empty.
There's nothing there, dummy. All right, so there are screws that are here, and I thank you. It does come with screws as well, but these basically just screw into the base here, and you can slide this. All right, but then you can also slide this, and then this locks into position. So what I really need to do is I need to get the edge of my fabric fold. So where is my hem? And I need that to be basically at my leftmost needle. So I'm just going to slide this here until my fabric edge lines right up with that. And then I'm going to lock my guide in place. So you push that down.
Tighten your
and you tighten your screws too. My screws are loose. Jinx! All right, so you tighten the screws so this part doesn't move, and then again, this will slide around. So put your fabric edge right up to that. I would press this if I was doing this for real, right? So I have this. Now this is where I was saying the smaller this is, the harder this gets, right? Because I have to get it around the foot.
Right, because the only thing that we can say that a baby lock doesn't have is a free arm.
There is no free arm on this. There is definitely not a free arm on this.
We had one question real quick. Dorothy is asking, is this still considered an overlock? It is not. This is considered cover hem now. So the difference is that we have put the blade down. When we have the ability to cut, we're overlocking. And when we are not cutting and we're using the other part of the machine, we're in the cover hem part, which is a lot like regular sewing. But it still is a super stretchy stitch, and it is designed to basically cover the bottom part. Yes. Should the switch change to chain cover?
This one right here, I think, is what you're talking about. This is very specific switch. It is for our threader.
Only.
It is only for the threader. So whichever set of needles you're using the air threader for is which side that you would have. So if I had used my air threading needles instead of the tweezer, I would have to have that switched over here so that the air is blowing in that section.
Yeah.
So that is all that is pertaining to. That's a good question, because I can totally see where you could be like, wait a minute, that doesn't match.
Yes.
All right. So what I did while she was talking is I scooched my hem. So I have my cuff. I've got it coming out. I know you can't quite see it around the back of the foot. And then I'm going to pull to the front as well. So I need to keep the edge lined up with my guide. And I just dropped my needles into the fabric so that it won't shift around while I'm getting started.
Right.
Now, the goal, of course, is to make a circle that my end points match up with my start points.
Yes.
Hence where the fabric guide comes into play. This guide is available separately. It also comes in the foot kit if you bought the foot kit. So depending on how you got your feet things going here, it would maybe already be in your collection or maybe not. So when it's this small, don't go too fast, because again, you're going to just kind of keep shifting and make sure you want to make sure that your hem is staying lined up. And then I'm just shifting
because we
forward.
Can't always take the pant leg or the arm sleeve apart and just do a flat seam.
Nope.
Sometimes we have to work in these little tiny small spaces.
And sometimes you can.
Yes.
But sometimes you can't.
Sometimes you can't.
So, or maybe you don't want to.
And they do make a couple shorter feet. So if you are finding like I've a really narrow space to work with and you can't get it around, there are some slightly short. It's not going to make it will make a big difference in something like the size that Lisa is doing here. But honestly, if you had like a baby's cuff that you were trying to go through,
goodness, yeah,
you would want to try to get that flat. This would be definitely, it would be something you probably could do, but it would definitely be harder.
So I'm making my way around. I'm almost there. Again, this is not a race. You will definitely be much happier if you don't rush, but the professional finished edge of this, I just love, and you get a nice secure seam that will last. So I don't know if you guys can see here. I'm going to try to bend this up a little bit. Here is my original seam. All right, so this is where I'm aiming. On my foot here, I actually have little notches, so I can make sure that as I'm feeding this in, I am feeding that line right into, except I'm not doing a very good job, but you'll get the idea. So I can literally see that they match up. All right, now I don't have a reverse.
No.
What do I do? Right. So I'm going to move this.
There's no thread cutter.
There's no thread cutter. I'm going to take these out just so that you guys can see a little bit, because there's a lot going on here.
Yeah.
I wouldn't normally do this if I was just at home. I would grab whatever, but I'm just trying to make it a little bit better visual for you guys. All right. So I've got this here and I'm stuck in the fabric. Now what do I do? Because I don't want to run off.
Right.
Because that's not going to look good. So what do I do here? So you need to get the needles out of the fabric. We're going to raise the foot. we are going to raise the foot because that does what to your threads?
Releases your
Releases
tension.
the tensions. So I'm going to get my thread out front so you can see it. All right. It's literally looped around. This is just my needle screwdriver.
So you pulled that from underneath the foot,
Underneath
right?
the foot. I literally went behind the needles and scooched to the front, just like that. And then you snip with really bad scissors. All right. So now I have loose threads, but they're still not quite finished. I'm still attached. So you need to wiggle just a little bit and then yank to the left. And what that's going to do, you're still going to need to cut your looper because that was attached. But what it does is it pulls all of the threads to the back. So there's my 2 needle threads and my looper thread. I can tie those in a knot. I can put a dab of glue. I can pull them into the seam.
Yep.
Whatever it is that floats your boat. These were my starting tails. So those are irrelevant. All right. That was the thread that was there when we started after our test. So with that little technique, I now have all of my finished threads. Again, those were my starting threads into the back of.
Show that part on the big one.
I'm actually going to do it again loose so it's not, so you can see it again.
Yep.
But all of my threads for my finished are coming to the back. So I have 3 threads here. I don't know if you guys can see that on my finger. All right. 2 needles and a looper. I can tie a knot, so I could make them longer, tie a knot, whatever floats my boat. I can take a needle and just fish them into the seam so that they're buried there, put a little dab of glue, whatever it is that works best for you. But pulling those to the back to finish that seam, it is a beautiful thing.
It is a beautiful thing.
And so that gives me a finished seam on the front.
Yes.
So we're going to do that one more time just here so that you guys can see it. Because being able to finish your seam on here is the meat and the potatoes of this. If you're going to use this for a hem, you have to know how to do that. Otherwise, you're stuck and you don't know how to get out of that.
Right.
All right. So I'm just going to run. We're going to pretend I'm coming back around and I'm kneading my seam. So I'm in the middle of my fabric. I can't sew off, can't do any of those things. So I just need to loosen my tensions by lifting my foot. My needles already are out, but if they weren't, I need to raise that up. We're going to pull those to the front. We're going to cut the thread so you can see everything is there. Give it a little wiggle. What that's doing is releasing it from underneath. If you just yank without the little shimmy, you get a big mess.
Yes.
You don't want to do that. So little shimmy and then slightly back and to the left.
Yes.
Yank it and you can see my top threads are no longer there. They are all 3 to the back. I cut my looper and there is all of my threads at the back of my project. Just like that. So this is what I do. I hem Caitlin's pants. I have to hem my pants. I'm short too. Let's get real. But Caitlin's like got a lot of stuff. I have piles of stuff, you know. So I do that. And this is what I do. I find that this is the easiest. We both tend to wear a lot of black. So I can pretty much, you know, black thread does well for most. Like I said, you can make this a knot and literally tie the knot back here. You could take them loose, tie a like bow knot on. Doesn't matter. It'll all work. So a dab of like fray check type glue, any type of clothing glue or fabric glue will work just fine. So that is hemming on my serger.
Yeah, so easy, so easy.
And I just use the standard foot. You can use the shorter foot. You could use the clear foot. Sometimes the clear foot is really nice because then you can see all the way up to the needle if your threads are matching to run over top of them.
Exactly.
You want to go over the original stitches just a couple steps because that's kind of like your reverse. And it'll lock it in. And then when you pull them to the back, you're good to go.
Exactly.
I usually get asked at this point, well, what about the starting stitches that are still out top? Just if you need to take a needle and bury that through the seam or just to the back and then do the same thing.
Yes. Yeah.
So,
if you, there are 2 types of sewers. There are those who are just going to clip. You just put a little dab of fray check there. That'll help. And then there are those that are going to fish that through the bottom and then weave it down. And there is really no right or wrong way of doing that.
But the pulling of the threads down is
Definitely.
the key
Yes.
on hemming on your serger.
And you finish. Absolutely.
Finishing that off.
And the other thing that I wanted to point out is we wanted to show you the fancy new table. There is a new overlock table that basically
It has this part here, but it has the blade part there. So it's got this little doodad here, and then you have the extension, so you can put your attachments on there.
Exactly.
We could have not had to do as much work,
right?
With the threading with that table, because you have the ability to cut and sew at the same time.
Exactly. But when we're in the overcasting part and we're trimming our fabrics up, we get this question a lot. How the heck do I know how much I'm trimming off? Well, you do have markings on the plate, but they are definitely harder to see, and they're way up here. So it's kind of hard to
almost
find.
Too late half the time. By the time you're like, oh crap.
By the time I realize I'm crooked.
You're too far in, and it's really hard to make that adjustment.
Right.
So it is nice to have
to be able to use
the
that fabric
guide and whatnot out here.
Yeah.
If you have the smaller version, 8 thread, there is a different fabric guide, but it still works very, very well.
Yes.
So that is definitely a thing. Hayden actually requested that we bring this guy in, and it is a wonderful tool. I have since taken one home. It is an easy hem guide. So basically, you can use the measurements to fold up your hem and all of those good things. You have a straight edge and a curved edge, and you can press right through this. So you literally, here's my...
It's like a really thin metal.
It is extremely thin metal. All right. I'm running out of room over here, so don't mind the mess. But I can take that edge, and if I want a 1 inch, I can line up to that 1 inch, and then I literally get my iron and I can press right through here.
This is so much easier than those little thin gauges.
Well, you're running along.
Right.
It's like, oh, for crying out loud.
This is taking me forever.
And, if it's starched and pressed, pins, just let them go. Who cares?
Yeah, exactly.
So such a great tool. And this little guy is $19.09. Totally worth it if you are a hemmer.
That's $20 you'll spend.
It is a fantastic tool to make your life easy.
Or if you're not a hemmer, like if you don't do hemming a lot, the whole folding up and getting it right thing can be super intimidating when you're getting to it at the first time. So definitely get that. Like I said, best $20.
Absolutely. It really is all about the tools.
It is.
It totally is all about the tools.
I know if anybody finds out that you own a sewing machine, they automatically assume, can you hem my pants?
I got a hole in the butt of my jeans. Can you fix that?
I know, right?
No,
you could just buy a new pair of pants.
Go get another.
But yeah, someone is going to ask you that. And if you are nice, you might say yes. And then
so which one of us says yes?
Not me. In case you were wondering, I don't think that there was any.
Okay, so let's get real. When it comes to hemming,
yes.
How many pairs of pants have you hemmed this year?
0.
And do you walk on them, or do you cut them, or you don't really care? Right.
I'll fold them up and walk on them.
Different opinions.
Yeah.
So here's my trick that I don't have. I wear heels.
Yes.
And then I can have an extra inch of length on my pants, and then
exactly.
I'm fine. So that's my trick. Heels or hem?
Heels or hems?
Heels. Heels it is.
Heels it is.
And I get a new pair of shoes out of it too. So
exactly.
You can't go wrong.
No, you cannot go wrong.
So I know we're running a few minutes over. So before we say goodbye, we just want to real quick invite you to join us for our Kimberbell events that we have coming up super quick. This Saturday, we have Treats for My Boo, which this is the main project for that. It is so stinking cute. I'm just going to hold the embroidery up to this one so you guys can see.
Yep.
So how adorable is that? And this is a little leather tote, and it does fold out so it collapses and everything. And this is a virtual only event. We do have about 5 kits left. So you wouldn't
show those jars.
I'm getting there.
I made
and then
the
we have a little
bigger,
gift pocket. So you can put, a new foot in there.
Right.
Needles.
Yeah.
So there's a little gift pocket you can fill with some goodies there, probably candy.
That's what we, someday we're going to have to trick or treat for adults. It'll be like a sewing themed one.
That
would be so
totally
much fun.
That. And
everybody park your cars outside and we'll trade sewing notions.
We'll trade sewing notions. We'll have baskets. We'll all run around to each other's cars. And then there's the little jar toppers. These are the narrow. There is also a wide mouth size that comes with it, but the event size is this one. So we're going to stitch this little guy. Which way am I going? That little guy at the event, but you also receive the little kitty cat file. So stinking cute. I picked these jars up just at Walmart.
Yeah.
You get a jar in the kit. So this is this weekend. Still a few spots left. It is virtual. The kits are here, so we can get you everything that you need if you would like to. That is and literally Saturday.
If you've never done a Kimberbell event from us, what Lisa and I always do is we always record videos for each of the projects. So sometimes you can't make it to the class, or maybe we have people who like take the class, but they don't necessarily, they fall behind, they feel bad, they don't say enough, you know, or they feel rushed because
or they could only attend half the day.
Yeah.
Or, you know, that's the nice thing about the virtual is you can be flexible. You know, hey, I got to take off. I got to take my dog to the bed or whatever. It doesn't matter. But you have the videos to refer back to forever.
Yes.
And
they
it's not
edited videos that are just on that particular project. It's not a 10-hour Zoom class that you are trying to fast forward.
Right. You're not like, where's the part that I need? It's literally, this is this project video, and then this is this project video, and it takes you step by step through all of those. You can pause it, do it, hit go again, or, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
So it's super easy to do repeat things on your own, or if you do have to miss or whatever, it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
it makes
you
it really
can do it at your own pace and
the other
later. But you always have access to those videos. We don't say you can only have it for 3 months or whatever. The video stays up. You have access to it. You just have to keep your email.
Yes. But quite frankly, I mean,
we can
it's
find them.
better if you can just find it. Like keep a little folder of all of those, so it's super easy to access. But we can get it for you again. It's just it does take a little searching to get that, but we certainly can if you've lost your link. So we can confirm, yes, you took the class, and we can get that back to you.
Yes.
The other event we have coming up is either October 4th or October 5th. There are in-store spots available for Saturday the 5th. There are not in-store spots available for Friday, but you could do virtual either day if you would like. And this one is the Gingerbread Christmas. So it has this adorable little dome piece that we're going to create a gingerbread house that will sit in there. And there is some glittery snow that you put around the bottom. So it sits in there. Isn't that adorable?
It's very cute.
And then there are these little cookie guys that will stitch. And you also have the placemat. So the idea is that this is a tablescape, and you would stitch the placemat, and then you have your house that sits there. There's also some wooden beads, but that's not stitching. That's just part of the kit for decoration and things. So the videos for this are already done. Again, you can take it virtual or in store. If you are looking in store, we only have Saturday the 5th spots available for that. Great projects. This one is, it includes all of your stabilizers. It only uses 2 other colors of thread. You can pick those from your stash. Super easy to do. And then the, it's not trick or treat. It's Halloween treats for my boo. That I'm like, what the heck is that called? Has threads and stabilizers in with your kit. So all of that, everything that you need is there.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you are looking for a little bit of fun to be had, those are coming right up, and we would love for you to join us.
Yeah.
So happy hemming, everybody. I hope this took some of the fear out of how to do this, that, and the other thing. And maybe that pile of to-dos will shrink a little bit now.
Right.
So
I really need to do the arms on some of my shirts. Maybe I'll do that this weekend. You never know.
You just never
might
know.
not. Whatever. I know.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us. We look forward to next time.
Yeah.
And next week is all about patterns and fun things that we
might be obsessing over.
We might be obsessing over lately. So we will see you guys next time.
Bye.